Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afkar, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. So yeah, today I'm really excited that Ashana is with us on the show, and I've been listening to her sound healing music for several years now, and I've been using it in meditation or um, for healing when I want to release maybe some dense energy or healing something that I've been experiencing for some time. And also it's from experience also it can help to connect more deeply to our intuition and connect to those dimension when we can get more inspiration. And yeah, it's like my experience with it has been very powerful, and I'm still using her sound healing, and also very excited that she's here with us today. And before we start, I would love to share with you a little bit about Ashana. And so Ashana is one of the premier healing music artists and new age vocalists of our time, weaving together soaring angelic vocals and the celestial sound of alchemic crystal singing bowls. As a renowned master crystal ball artist, teacher, and sound healer, Ashana is an expert in the field of sound healing with crystal balls, training students from all over the world in the art of applying crystalline sound to therapeutic and artistic healing modalities in her crystal ball mastery program. And so, yeah, with that, Ashana, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you with
Thank,
us.
thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, yeah, very excited about today's call. And so, in the beginning, I would love if you can maybe tell us more about your story with sound healing, and how you started sharing this really wonderful gifts that you are offering.
It was an accident. It really was an accident. It wasn't something I ever anticipated doing. It wasn't something I was looking for. It was just a matter of someone calling me up, and a mentor of mine at the time called me up on the phone one day and said, "Have you ever heard of crystal singing bowls?" And I said, "No." And she said, "They are right up your alley." And so I bought one sight unseen, literally that day. And about 3 weeks later, a bowl arrived in my house. And about by a month later, I had seven. It was like the minute the bowl arrived in my house, I knew that something completely amazing was happening. I tell the story often that once I played the chime the bowl at the first time, that I immediately began crying. And the first thought in my mind was that light had come to live in my house. That's literally verbally what I thought. And the second thought was that one day I'm going to put these into music. And it took about, that happened in 1999, and I made my first album in 2005 with Thomas Barkey, an album called All Is Forgiven, which, even though it's,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we looking at? It's like 17 years old now, this album, and still it is as fresh
Yes.
and new today as it was the moment that we recorded it. And it's gone on to touch millions and millions of lives all over the globe, which completely surprised both Thomas and myself. So it was very magical. And in that moment, I had no idea when I began playing with crystal bowls the personal transformation that was going to happen. Because at that point in time, I approached the bowls simply as musical instruments. And oftentimes, this is what happens with musicians when they come to sound healing. They come to it from the place of music and the inspiration, and how beautiful that sound is going to enhance or support. It's just this angelic, it's celestial, it's this otherworldly sound. But what I wasn't prepared for, and what many of my students who are musicians, they're not prepared for either, is the level of personal transformation that happens when you work conscientiously with instruments, with the living consciousness that is the bowls, or I'm falling in love with therapeutic harps these days as well, and I'm having a very different but similar experience with the harps in terms of, shifting, healing that's happening, and the combination of the two of them together is it's ecstatic. So sound healing is finally becoming appreciated and coming into its own now. So I feel grateful to have been one of those pioneers in this generation that could um, take the music and sound healing and create an alchemy of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you for following your heart and sharing these gifts, because like you said, it really helped so many people around the world, and helped to really create very deep transformation. And as you were talking about the combination, because from what I experienced through your healing sound, like you combine both your voice, which is really really profound and beautiful,
Mm.
and also the crystal balls. And what happens, it has some magical effects. It brings you to the moment, sometimes right away. It's not something that takes time. And so what I would like to ask is, like, during those experiences, do you know what's happened within our body that can help us really to bring us to this present moment?
You want to know what happens inside the body
Yeah,
itself?
how the sound healing affects the brain and the body, so it can really bring us to that relaxed space where we feel more centered and connected.
Yes. There's many things that happen, and the first of all is that the sound affects our nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Sound is really literally recalibrating it. There is a term in physics uh, which is called entrainment. And when
Yes.
entrainment happens, is that the dominant sound or vibration in an environment has the most has the deepest effect on everything around it. So you can look at it. The original experiment was done, I believe, it was sometime in the 19th century or the early 20th century, when a scientist in Europe took a whole bunch of cuckoo clocks, the ones that go, they have the pendulum that swings, and took about 60 of them, I believe, and put them in a room. And the first time, all of them were going every which way. They were all. And he came back 24 hours. And 24 hours later, all the clocks, all the pendulums were synced up,
Yeah.
and they were moving in synchronicity. And in some ways, this is what happens when you are listening to any kind of really sound healing modality. It doesn't have to be crystal singing bowls. It can be drums, it can be pan drums, it can be harp, it can be vocals. Um, just, oh, pardon me. Just think about. Let me turn
Yeah,
this
it's
off.
okay.
Just think about the experience when you go to a great opera or an amazing concert, right? And the music is literally uh, entraining every single person in the audience to that experience, to that vibrational experience. So our nervous system responds accordingly. Now, when you work with the alchemy crystal singing bowls, something different is happening. So it sets it apart from other sound healing modalities because of the fact that the instruments, the bowls, the crystal singing bowls, are crystalline based. This creates a natural resonance in our bodies because our bodies are also crystalline based. Our skeletal system is crystalline in nature and structure. Now, you have to remember this, or understand this, that there are multiple properties of pure quartz crystal. And the properties of pure quartz crystal are to amplify energy. It is to transmute or transform energy. It is to contain or store energy and to transmit energy and absorb energy. So when the bowls are played, our skeletal structure responds accordingly to the sound of the bowls, to the crystalline nature of the bowls. And our skeleton becomes, it is like an antenna. It's an antenna. And so the sounds that are coming in literally are absorbed into, down to the DNA, really, to the molecular level of our body. And whatever is being transmitted, the pure tone frequencies that are being transmitted by the bowls are going directly into our bones. And then they're also impacting the energy field around the body that makes up the multidimensional layers of the body, the etheric body, the light body, the emotional body, the physical body, the mental body, all of that. The sound is impacting all of that. And it is literally going down and resonating, creating natural resonance with the skeletal system and the other crystalline structures in the body, because the body is 70%, 80% water, they believe.
Yes.
And water has its own crystalline structure, and also some of the parts of the brain are crystalline in structure. So there is this resonance that happens. And when bowl meets body, literally, and I'm talking about the bigger body with all of the energy fields, when the sounds of the bowl meets the body, whatever is being transmitted in that sound of that bowl, not just the nature of the bowl itself, but any kind of prayer or intention that is being carried by the player, that too is being transmitted. So if there is an intention of peace, if there is an intention of loving kindness, compassion, healing, whatever prayer is being done, and whenever I play, that level of prayer is always happening, like literally, moment to moment to moment. And that is what people are receiving. And they're receiving it in the energy field, and they're also receiving it down into the DNA level. I had this wonderful, wonderful teaching by one of my spiritual teachers many years ago. And she said to me, I want to teach you how to play your bowls. Right? Now, I had listened to her play crystal bowls many, many times. And I knew that technically I was a much better player. I know this is so funny, but it was true. I was a much better player than she was, right? But I trusted, because I knew the energy that my teacher had. It was so profound. So I waited, and I thought we were going to have a lesson. I thought she was going to, but that didn't happen at all. It was really magical. There was a big group program. There's about 450 people in the audience. And she picked up this bowl and she started playing. And I knew that she was teaching me in that moment, right? In front of all these people. She never said a word. And there was a transmission of energy that came through the bowl. And I don't know what it did for everybody else in the room, but it was like it went poof into my heart. It went boom into my field. And I felt it. And she must have played for maybe 2 to 3 to 4 minutes. That was it. And then a night later, she offered darshan, a blessing to everybody.
Yes.
And I came up to the darshan line, and she looked at me and she said, so, did you hear the bowl? And there must have been 1,000 people in the darshan line, right? And I said, yes, Ma, I did. And she says, good. So the power of our intention, when it's amplified by that crystalline sound, it literally can move right in. It can move into the physical structure, moves into the emotional structure, moves into the mental structure, moves into our light bodies. It cleanses, it clears, it transmutes, it transforms. It gets right down, because we're dealing with crystalline light and we're dealing with the light structure of the body. It gets right down into the light structure of the body and literally shifts our frequency as much as we can allow it to happen. And we have the opportunity of feeling and experiencing that light frequency vibrating in and through us. Now, everybody's going to have their own experience because everybody is different. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It really does.
Did,
And
did I answer your question?
yes, even more than that, you shared like that experience was really, really amazing. That you had
Wasn't it?
with yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God, totally blew me away. It was so
And
funny because
without
I was,
words.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking, I was like, oh, I'm going to have this, amazing teaching and we're going to have this time together and blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen at all. Here I
Mm,
was in the middle of this huge group program. And in 3 minutes, and this is what master teachers do for us, in 3 minutes or 2 minutes, the teaching can happen like that. And the experience can happen
yeah,
like that. And it changed my bowl playing instantly.
yeah. Wow. So so you mentioned that the crystal ball or the sound healing that you use can amplify the intention. And
Yes,
so
very much
because
so.
because there are many like different kind of crystal balls, and how do you choose the one to use? Is it dependent on your intention, or is it more like a feeling you feel connected more to it? How does it work?
Well, that's a really good question because it depends on so many factors. You know, um, for some people, it's just using their own intuitive guidance. I think people come to the bowls in as many different ways as there are people that are attracted to the bowls. Some people, as I said, just use their intuitive guidance. They need to place their hands on the bowls and feel them and touch them. Other people, are attracted to the colors. Others are attracted to the sound. Um, Many people appreciate guidance in that experience. And the guidance is important because depending on who you are and what you want to do with your bowl, it can be, or bowls, it can be an incredibly valuable support to have, the expertise of somebody like myself, uh, just walking you through the pathway to this. And if you're wanting to put bowls together, or if you're a teacher or a practitioner, there's so many people out there right now that are attracted to and wanting to connect with sound and vibrational healing. But it's kind of like the Wild West out there right now, where many people are just playing bowls and offering sound healing with no guidance, no training. And I think we have to be really careful about that, because you can definitely do a disservice to people by doing that. So it's very, very helpful and highly recommended that you get some training, that you have some deeper understanding. This one of the reasons why I developed Crystal Ball Mastery in teaching retreats, teaching workshops, teaching private mentoring students. Sometimes I will work with, oftentimes I'll work with people for a year to 2 years, and until they get to the point where they go, yes, I feel really good about doing this and offering this to others. So
Yeah,
I hope that answers your question.
yeah, absolutely. So it's like the crystal ball. It's not just a tool, but there is a connection, like a relationship between um, the person who will use it and the crystal ball. And
Yeah,
I
yeah, that
guess
is
so.
so
This,
true.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, many people come. It's so funny. People come to me and they go, oh, they say, oh, I want to play this for my students. I want to do this. I want to offer sound healings. I want to do this and this. And I laugh because I say, I really hope you understand that you're buying this bowl for yourself. You know? This is really for you first and foremost, and then we'll work with everybody else that comes along down the line, because the personal transformation is so powerful. I don't think most people are prepared for it, quite honestly. It's we come to the bowls or any kind of sound healing experience saying, oh, it just makes me feel so good. It's blissful. It's loving. It's light. But there's the there's the opposite to that. As we grow lighter and lighter and lighter, we get to see all the other things inside of us that don't look like light. We have to. We have to look at that. So we have to look at what comes up when we shine the light into our own darkness. And that's a very important part of sound healing. Sound healing is phenomenal for helping to heal the emotional body. It's phenomenal. I am convinced that is one of the number one um, supportive healing modalities in helping to heal and clear the emotional body is doing it through sound. So, and when you're working with emotions, you're not just working with happiness or contentment or peace. You're working with everything that comes up that is unlike that. You're working with your grief, your sadness, your fears, your anger, your discomfort, your frustration, your boredom. All of those kinds of things come up when we work on healing our emotional body. And most of that, most illness has as one of its core issues will be distortion or misqualified energies or imbalanced energies or unresolved issues with the emotions. And so sound is an incredible tool, particularly in my own experience, particularly vocal sound is powerful. It's probably the most powerful uh, support for resetting, realigning our emotional bodies so we can walk inside of our own light. And that is when we come into relationship and we open up our voice, our healing voice, our own healing voice. And then when you can do that with connection with other instruments, particularly with bowls, it's a powerful combination.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Like the voice really can takes us to some deep level that we don't experience through other tools. And like you said, with combination with, for example, crystal balls, it just experience it just becomes so powerful. And so we talked about your program, the Crystal Ball Mastery Program. So you teach people how, like all the details, so they can use that for themselves and others. And also in our audience, we have several who already offer their services or want to start offering their services. And what will be your advice if for those who want to incorporate or use crystal balls in the work they want to offer?
Well, is this something that they've already studied, or is this something that they're just attracted to at this point and they want to incorporate it in their work? So they're at
In,
the beginning stages of
it,
playing bowls.
it's more the beginning. I mean, because it depends because there are some who already offer services, healing services, but it's not, it's more like energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can maybe add also crystal balls during the process. And also we have parts of our audience who are still in the beginning. They want to start being in service. And so the question is, if they want maybe, if they are maybe like beginners in using crystal balls, what will be your advice in like to
Well,
start their journey?
yeah, my first advice is to you is to learn how to use your bowls and learn how to use them well. Um, it, you know, it's the thing with crystal singing bowls, and let me just go grab one here, right? So I'll just put one right here. This is a citrine bowl, right? In
Yeah,
my hand. Hope you can see it. So a crystal bowl is really, on some level, very simple to play. You know, but it's not easy. So what I like to tell my students is a story of it's one of those Sufi stories. So they're kind of like Japanese koans, but
yeah,
they're much more fun, I think. And so there was a musician living in a little village, and he had one of those stringed instruments, and he was living with his wife. And every single day, he would play. He would get his instrument, and he would play one note, and he would play the same note over and over and over again. And finally, his wife, just like after months and months and months and months of this, she just went to him one day with practically tearing her hair out. And she goes, "Can't you play another note, please?" And he looks at her and he goes, "When I finally learned how to play this one."
yeah,
And that is such a profound story, and it has it's so applicable to the sound of the bowl. I mean, you don't have to wait years and years to play your bowl, but learn how to play this one note. This is a bowl with one note. And when you play it, learn how to play that note from every part of you. Really learn how the application of this sound is going to enhance your own life, enhance someone else's life. Come into deep relationship with the bowl, with the note. This is so much of what we work on in Crystal Bowl Mastery. You know, it's a 6 month to a year program, and for some of my students, it goes on for 2 years. And you think, oh wow, this is such a simple instrument. All I got to do is tap the side and go around rim. Great, I'm a sound healer. No, you're not. You know, does putting the key in the car, turning the ignition, and putting your foot on the gas make you a great driver? No, it doesn't. But so we have to learn. We have to spend time learning. We have to spend time coming into relationship with sound and vibration. We do that in many different ways in my program. I mean, there are other programs out there. I just encourage people to learn and to grow. Even my own students, I say, come learn with me. When you're done, go learn with somebody else, because it's so important for us to continuously learn and grow, and remember and understand that everything that we're doing in our process of learning and growing gets
yeah,
amplified and transmitted through the sound that we make. So that's my advice.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I love how you describe it, and also the story that you shared. Um, so so it's more about like using the crystal ball. It's more about making it, or it becomes more like a natural part of us, or maybe we approach it naturally instead of like thinking how I will use it now or how I will share this now. It's more naturally, like there is a connection happening. And it's like music instruments. It takes years, and then it feels like we are one with it, and we transmit our intentions, our feelings through the instruments. So it's,
Yes,
I guess, is the same with the crystal balls.
yes, yes. It what I think sound healers that really need to, people that are coming into sound healing now, and it's happening in droves right now. But one of the things to help people understand in sound healing is that the original sound healers were the musicians.
Yeah,
You go back to ancient Greece and you go back to different cultures, it was the musicians that were the healers in the community. And musicians, people that were connected to music, and I'm not talking about professional musicians, I'm talking about musicians. Okay, people that have devoted their life to, or at least part of their life, to focusing on creating beauty in music, or it doesn't just have to be beauty, it can be anything, but to creating music that is the fullest expression of their soul, right? So that that is where the healing juju really starts.
yeah,
And, I love to tell my students, look at really fabulous musicians. Listen to really fabulous musicians. When they are on the stage, or you're listening to one of their recordings, um, an entire life can change in a nanosecond by listening to that music. I remember the first time I heard uh, I heard an old recording of Mahalia Jackson singing um, on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And this was back in, like, the recording, I think, was somewhere back in the 1950s and the 1960s. I can't remember the exact date. And I put it on play, and I started listening to it, and my whole body was impacted by the sound of her voice. It's like I literally could feel, I can remember it now, that memory. And this was, probably 10 years ago that I heard this, or longer. I can still close my eyes and I can feel the vibration of her voice going through me. That's how powerful music is. We've all had those experiences because the consciousness of the singer, the consciousness of the musician, and when they are in an exalted, altered state, when they are so deeply connected with their souls, and that sound that comes through is life changing. I just watched the I just watched the movie. It came out on Amazon or Netflix or something like that, and it was Respect. It was the story of Aretha Franklin. And she had done all these albums and she was super, super famous. And then she went through a massive breakdown where she was struggling with alcoholism and all kinds of stuff. And she came back from that experience, and she'd also already been a superstar. And she told her manager, she said, to to do a gospel album. And her producers and her managers said, "No way, it's not going to work. Who's going to buy it? Nobody." And she was like so clear. She said, "It was my faith that brought me back from the brink of despair, and it is to my faith that I will sing." right? And they recorded her um, in a church. They recorded this album. And that album, and this is my whole point here, that album went on to be her number one selling album. Now, why is that? Because when you watched her singing, you could hear her singing. She was so in alignment with her soul. She was so surrendered to her soul in that moment that the pure vibrations of that were literally coming through every single note she sang. And if you were blessed enough to be in that audience, or you blessed enough to listen to that music, even 20 years later, 25 years, 50 years later, that vibration can heal. That's the power of music to heal. It's profound. So with all of my students that are coming to me of energy healers, so back to your question, energy healers coming to this, come into an understanding of a respect for the power of sound and music to heal, and allow yourself to be trained in 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 crystal bowls or harp or drums or whatever it is that is calling to you. Allow yourself to learn and grow, and sit at the feet of the goddess and the goddesses of music, at the muses of music, and allow them to teach you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I really love how you express that, and also the story, because it really shows that the most important thing is to be able to, it's not about the technique, but more about bringing this vibration or healing
Mm-hmm.
that comes from the soul, and bringing that
Yes.
through either the voice or the instruments. And this is how we transmit, or we like create a space where people they feel like shifted or healed without words.
Yeah.
It's more vibrations, and it happens in an instant. It's not. I mean, sometimes we can have some really profound experiences like right away, um, when the musician, the artist, or the transmitter, he is really, or she is really connected to their soul. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing about that. And so for our audience, if you want to learn more about the program, you can find it on soundofashana.com, soundofashana.com. And Ashana is written Ashana. And Ashana are also offering a free gift that our audience can download for free. It's MP3 called Soul Merge. And so everyone, there is the button on the page that can take you to the page where you can download it, or you can visit the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ashana, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ashana. So I would love if you can tell us more about the soul merge.
Oh my God. Soul Merge was amazing. Um, when I recorded Jewels of Silence, and it's again, it's an example of when you do music and it's timeless, right? So it has no age.
Yes.
Um, this was one of those moments, and I had recorded the bowls, I had recorded the vocals, and I turned it over to Thomas Barkey, and I said, "Here, you know, that's now it's up to you." And I absolutely remember the day. I remember the moment where I was, where I heard Soul Merge for the first time, and it was transcendent. When you record, at least for me, when I record, I don't always know I'm almost always in an altered state, and I never really know. It's like, is that altered state going to communicate? Is it going to translate? That's the word I'm looking for. Is it going to translate to the listener? You know, sometimes you think it is, but you just don't know. And Thomas is such he's so brilliant. He's such a genius, and we've been working together for 17 years now, and showing no signs of stopping. We have all this music getting ready to come out, which is kind of in a backlog of creative inspiration and should start rolling out this year and next year. But as I said, we worked together for a long, long time, and so we'd only been working together for about 2 years when we recorded Soul Merge, and I remember just closing my eyes, and I had my headphones on, and I started listening, and this sound, it was it was from another world. Everything about it just was transcendent. And when I had to come up with a title for the song, it was almost instantaneous. It I called it Soul Merge because that's the sound of of the bowls and the voice and the soul, my I am presence. That was the moment of that transmission. And then Thomas goes into that place inside of himself, and he crafts the context for that. So it really is a deep collaboration between the two of us. And I don't know what else to say, but I can't tell you how many people listen to this piece. There's just like literally millions of people around the world hear this song and go, that's what it is. It's Soul
Yeah.
Merge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beyond words. I mean, no matter how we try to describe it, it's really, we need to listen to it, to experience it,
Yeah.
to really understand. Or it's more an experience than an understanding.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I really love it. And also, you mentioned that when you shared that, you created that audio, and also the others, you are in that transcendence, like state of being.
Mm-hmm.
And many, it's how to say, they want to experience that, and at some point it becomes more as a goal, and they start like thinking, why I didn't experience that. It's more about chasing an experience than allowing it to happen. Sometimes it makes it difficult, like we block that experience to happen. So what is your opinion about
Oh, well, I've been down that road a zillion times.
that?
you know, where you, where I'm in the recording studio, or I'm sitting in front of my puja over here, or I'm, and I just want, you know, I just want, like, okay, come on, God, Goddess, all that is, just like, do me. and or I want to be super creative, or I want the muse to work, and it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So after so many years of doing this, when I catch myself in that, trying to catch or grab an experience or manufacture an experience, then I sit back and I laugh. I just notice, and I go, okay, let me stop, because it doesn't work, and it doesn't work that way. We have to shift our focus, and there's a shifting of the focus, and then there's just a letting go of the focus, you know so there's just an opening to being inside the present moment. And this is what I love about music. I sing almost every day for myself. Um, and when I start, I have this idea, is like, oh, I want to sing so I can connect. But it hardly ever starts out that way. It's mostly starts out with, you know, getting getting the pipes cleaned out and opening up the breath and feeling my voice, and then having an intention or focusing my prayer. And at a certain point in time, and it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, it could be a half an hour, there is mm, there's this thing that happens. And it just is, it, it's like when you're surfing. My husband is a surfer, right? And my voice teacher used to describe singing as surfing, like you're surfing.
Yeah.
And there's a certain point in time when you get on the wave and you just start riding the wave, and you're riding and you're singing, and you're connecting, and all of those pieces, and then you fall off the board.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're like, what? And you're paddling around the water, and the board is over here and your leg is over here, and you gotta like, okay, well, then get back on the board. And you get back on the board and you paddle out a little bit more, and then you catch another wave, and you're riding the wave, and you're singing, and the flow of energy is coming through, and maybe it lasts a minute, maybe it lasts 2 minutes, maybe it lasts 5, and then you fall off the board. So then you get back on again, and you fall off, and you get back on, you fall off, you get back on, you fall off, you get back on. That's consciousness. That's how we become absorbed in a higher vibration of consciousness. We shift our focus, we turn inward, we open, we learn some technique, to keep us on the board, where we're going to put our attention. And then at a certain point in time, we just get absorbed in the experience. And that's what I call being in the zone. And all my recordings are experiences of being in the zone. And there's, for all those recordings, for each one of those, that's maybe 60 minutes worth of music. There's probably 160 minutes worth. There's like 1,000 minutes worth or more, or 3,000 minutes worth of music that wasn't that 60 minutes. That was just Ashana trying to find her way back on the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's really beautifully said. And also, like, another point is those experiences in general, they are not similar, because when we have like a very profound experience, it's like the mind for it, so it has like it's known now, and what tries to do, like, it expects something similar, but it's every experience is unique. It's going to be different.
I've been doing this thing, this play, this kind of creative playtime that I've been doing lately, and I've been taking poetry from different poets that I love, and I just start singing. I start singing the lyrics and the words, and like I'll approach this poem, and I start to sing it, and I'm reading this poetry, and I just open up the book. It's just a game for me right now. It's playtime. I open up the book, and I'm like reading this poem, and I'm going, God, I really don't like this poem. This doesn't feel very inspiring. But I keep singing and singing and singing and singing, and all of a sudden, I become absorbed in the words. And out of this comes this like flower of awareness of one line or 2 words that just awakens something inside of my awareness, and it's like, oh my goodness. And if we can approach all of those moments, instead of looking for that one line, instead of expecting, your crown chakra is going to open, your heart's going to open, but we just allow ourselves to become absorbed in the moment, in the practice, in the process, in the wonder of it, in the curiosity of it, in the openness to it, without being fixated on how we think it should feel or turn out, then magic can happen. And the magic might only be in one word.
Yeah, that's yeah, I think like the words can't really describe that, but it's like the way you explained it really brings us to, or reminds us that the way to experience things is through the heart, and more about letting go and allowing the experience to happen through us and trying to understand it. Or yeah, that was really beautifully said. So yeah, so Ashana, really thank you so much for the time you spent with us today. It was really great pleasure to have you with us on the show. It was very inspiring, very profound. Yeah, I really love the stories you shared, and also like the information you shared about your work, the singing and sound healing in general. So thank you so much for that.
You're very, very welcome. And I do encourage people to go and download Soul Merge, and it will open up all kinds of doors for you. And if you're wanting to learn about the crystal bowls, or you're wanting to work with me, Crystal Bowl Mastery, please just write, visit the website, soundofashana.com, and then reach out to me. And we'll do our best to help you in any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ashana. And again, so everyone, you can download Soul Merge MP3 by clicking on the free gift button. Or you can visit the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ashana. yourdivineuniqueness.com/Ashana. And also for Ashana's website is soundofashana.com. Soundofashana.com. And yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing with us this space, and sharing with us your beautiful energies. And yeah, so with that, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye bye, everyone.